Okay, we take a start with IELTS speaking part 1 and I'm going to ask you some questions about parks and gardens. Are there any parks or gardens in your hometown?
Yeah, there are lots of parks and gardens in my hometown. Lahore is a city of gardens and parks at one time, but it's changed
Lahore
over the
used
time.
to be a city.
Used to be,
Used to be a city of
city
parks and gardens once upon a time, but now it has
It's
changed.
changed
So
a
it's a
little.
good idea to stick to present.
Okay.
Right? For example, are there any parks or gardens in your hometown? Yes, my hometown is quite popular all over the country for its parks and gardens. Within this city, I think there are 30 plus big or small parks and gardens. We've got very famous parks here, and a lot of people from other cities come and visit these, right? Because in part 1 they will not allow you to speak too much. If your answer exceeds a certain limit, examiner will interrupt you with the next question, right? So let's go on. How often do you go to parks or gardens?
It depends on the weather.
It depends on the weather.
It-
Yes.
It depends on the weather, but I usually go every day. But if it's too hot, then I try to avoid to go to park.
I try to avoid going to the park.
avoid going to the park. I try to avoid going to the park, but I usually go in the if the weather permits me to go. I prefer to go to the park to get the good atmosphere.
Okay, try to connect your ideas. Number 1. Number 2, try to keep it simple.
Okay.
For example, how often do you go to the parks? Well, I go to the parks at least once a month because it is very important, and sometimes I go with my friends, but otherwise I always prefer going to the park with my family. We often have picnic in the something like that, a pleasant talk and all that. Okay, so don't restrict it to weather or anything, because if you make it complex or complicated, then at the end you will run out of words or ideas and then you'll be stuck. So keep it simple. Part 1, as far as part 1 is concerned, keep it as simple as possible, right? Okay, why do people visit parks or gardens regularly?
Of course, it's really important to visit the park because that provides you a fresh air, and it is very healthy practice to go to park every day. So majority of the people, the park is in front of my house, so I see the people of different age groups, they come to the park every day.
Okay, do you think there should be the tickets for the parks or gardens?
If there are lots of amenities in one of the park, then there should be a ticket to avail these facilities. But if it is just a park, the government should allow the people without any fee or charges to enter the park and enjoy the time there.
Okay, that's good. We now move on to speaking part 2, and your topic is describe a time when you received good news. Any good news like result, or someone gave you good news, tomorrow is your engagement, or anything like that. Okay, what was it about? Past tense now, all past. What was it about? Who told you the news? When you knew it? How you felt about it? And explain why do you think it was good. So please, you can start now.
The internet, obviously we know, has changed the world entirely as a global village, and majority of the people nowadays update their status on their WhatsApp or Facebook. So I have come across a good news from one of my cousin, and he updated his status on his WhatsApp that he has got the Canadian student visa, which really was good news for me. Although I met him about 6 months ago, he lives not that far from us, but I met him in a wedding around 6 months ago, and but he never told me about the process of his plan. But once I came to know through his status that he has got the study visa, I straight away called him and congratulated him because that was a big decision. And I was angry on the other end as well because he never shared that with me. But he has explained me that he had that plan. The plan was all of the sudden. So he explained that to me that, but he motivated me as well. He said that, you know, he got the visa in 5 working days. So he motivated me. He said that you should join the IELTS classes as well, so you can, you know, apply for the same purpose.
Okay, all right. You spoke for 1 minute 38 seconds. The way you started about importance of internet and all that, I felt you misunderstood the topic. And then you came to that. Whenever they give you a topic like describe a time when you received a good news, it's a good idea to select any news that is related to you, not like cousin, for example, right? I mean, now the news is about cousin, unless the cousin is fiance, that is something else. If fiance got the visa, that's something else. So it should be something personal, the first thing. Afterwards, as you went on, I found some grammatical mistakes. Like you said, one of my cousin, they should be S, one of my cousins. Then you were using present perfect with past tense. Because your cue card was all in past tense, you said he has explained. It should have been he explained. So no room for present perfect tense. You used present perfect tense instead of past simple. So you should use past simple tense. And avoid, I told you this before as well, avoid any sort of dialogue. I said, he replied, then I told him, he told me. Avoid any dialogue in your cue card. Instead of, for example, instead of telling this cue card thing, like you say, he told me, then I replied, he said, and all that. You say, we had a conversation and he gave all his views about how he got the visa, the way he struggled, and in order to achieve the visa, he had to go through IELTS test also. So just narrate it in your own words instead of saying he said, I said, because then there will be the mistakes of direct and indirect narration as well. So you should avoid that thing as well. Okay, instead of saying he said, I said, so you can say at the end, he advised me to go for IELTS test because this is the only way to achieve Canadian visa, and now I'm also. So just come up with the news which is personal, happy news, good news for you.
I've got that idea from the book you have recommended. That's in the
Whatever, but what I am telling you, that is more valuable than the book, exactly, right? Okay, now let's move on. Because, you know, I want you to get very good bench score in speaking.
Yeah, of course.
And never misguide the examiner. If you say internet first and then examiner is confused, what's the topic? So you should be careful. Start with the topic, then you can go on. Let's go on. Is it important to read the news?
Yes, of course, it is really important to read the news because that gives you information what is going around us, and it also tells us about the what is going around the world, and some people like to different kind of news such as sports, politics, and etc. So
all right, so I would advise you to connect your ideas because your sentences are separate. Try to connect and focus the main topic. At the end, give conclusion. For example, is it important to read the news? I think it is vital to read the news. If you live in this world and you don't know what's going on, how can you make important decisions of your life? Therefore, I think it is really crucial for everybody to read the news through internet, newspaper, so that at least they know what is going on in their surroundings, something like that. Okay, but do not go away from the main topic. Let's go on. What kind of news do people in your country like to read?
well, majority of the people in my country, it depends on the age group.
And now see that. First you said majority of people, then you're saying it depends. You should start, well, it depends. The majority of the people, something like that. Let me ask you again. What kind of news do people in your country like to read?
I forgot.
Don't worry, listen up, listen up. I've noticed another thing. You try to answer the question in an overly complicated manner. Keep it simple, right? So you need to keep your answer simple. For example, I take another question for you. The question is, how do people in your country get news? Right? Now you can categorize your answer like, well, there are multiple sources of getting news in my country. First of all, people get news alerts on their mobile phones. They subscribe different news channels, and on their mobile, with the help of internet, they get the news alerts. There is a little community who prefer to read the newspaper, so they always buy printed newspaper in the morning and they love to read that newspaper. On the other hand, so categorize first of all, secondly, thirdly, finally, just like that. Okay, so keep it simple, don't think in an overly complicated manner, your answers will be fine. Now coming back to your final assessment, your pronunciation is quite good. The way you pronounce English, the sounds and all that, that's really, really good. Fluency needs improvement, but the main area at the moment is grammatical range and accuracy. As in the cue card, with the past tense, you are using present perfect. So there you really need improvement, right? So as far as vocabulary is concerned, that's all right. But at present, to be on the safe side, I will give you a 6 band, although you can score 6.5 with this type of speaking. If you answer all the questions well, even with mistakes also, you can achieve 6.5, right? Okay, thank you.
Sorry.